Welcome back to the Irish NFL show here on our final day in Radio Row, San Francisco, before we pack up and head out towards Santa Clara in the build-up to the big game. I'm delighted to be joined by senior Broncos writer for DenverSports.com, Andrew Mason. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. We made it. It's the end of the week. Super Bowl week, you don't so much make it as you survive it. As you've learned. So
we were speaking before we came on. I was asking you, how are you feeling? Are you as tired as we are?
Yes. I mean, you're exhausted, but it's the good kind of exhausted. Your adrenaline kind of fuels you for a week like this, and it's always a privilege to be here. It's always fun.
Well, I hope you're still saying that at the end of this, because I'm going to bring up some old wounds here now. How's the feeling in Denver? Are you over the loss yet, or does it still hurt as much as it did 2 weeks ago?
Look, I mean, professionally, you stay neutral about things, but this would have been a heck of a lot more fun to cover the team that I know in this game. I mean, professionally as well, I'm the only representative of my outlet here. I would have had 9 of my teammates here with me if the Broncos had won. So I'm disappointed for my friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
My teammates who aren't here. Then the Broncos themselves, the city of Denver, the state of Colorado, all Broncos country. I'm disappointed for them. And I'm disappointed for the players on the team. I mean, it's just, it deserved it. I mean, no offense to the Patriots. They earned it, but that Broncos season deserved a better outcome. And for all that, you can go through everything, and we'll talk about that game as well. But yeah, if Bo doesn't fracture his ankle there in overtime against the Bills, the Patriots aren't in this game. The Broncos are in this game. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah. And it's hard to argue against that. And it must be extra hard to take when so many of the controllables are taken out of your hands. I mean, you mentioned Bo Nix goes down, Sean Payton comes out, and he put all his weight behind Jarrett Stidham, and that's what he had to do. But there, you suggested to me that there was a growing sense in Denver like that. Yeah, we can talk him up as much as we want, but Jarrett Stidham isn't quite Bo Nix, and so it must have been extremely deflating for Broncos fans even coming into that game.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you put an untested quarterback, and without any regular season experience this season, or to note even over the last few seasons, into these conditions.
Yeah.
You said an inch of snow in the second half that just made the game so hard to control, so hard to play your normal game. It was a losing battle from a very early stage, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, no quarterback had ever been asked to do what Jarrett Stidham was asked to do, and that's step in to a conference championship game and start without a single regular season pass thrown. I mean, there have been backups in the playoffs, and, Sean Payton talked about them. He mentioned Jeff Hostetler. I mean, he met, Doug Williams only started a couple of games back in the night for Washington in 1987. Nick Foles in the last decade. But they all started games in the regular season, and they started in the playoffs. Stiddy was thrown in cold. He hadn't even started in 2024 either. And so there was a lot, everyone said all the right things. I mean, the Denver community got behind him as well. And when he had that completion to Marvin Mims Jr. early, and then a pretty flawless play fake, and he hits Cortland Sutton in the end zone early, and the crowd is chanting, "Steady, steady, steady." I mean, I felt that you could feel an entire state getting behind this guy. And I mean, that was a joyous moment, but backups are backups for a reason. And there's a reason why kind of he is where he is. And and even before the snow hit, the flaws in Stidham that have led him to be only a backup rather than a starter, they revealed themselves. The Patriots threw a lot of different pressure looks at him. I mean, Mike Vrabel, he's a brilliant coach, and he's got good defensive tacticians, a lot of different pressure looks. And Stiddy has never really reacted well to different pressures. That's where things have broken down for him. And then, of course, he did the one thing he couldn't do, and that is he made the big mistake. He didn't just eat the football and take the sack. He tried to get push it away, tried to,
It was hard. It was hard to see the thought process in that as well. It was such a, it was such a, I suppose, a moment, and not to be disrespectful, but it was a moment of kind of incompetence, really, wasn't it? And but we talk about sliding doors moments an awful lot on this show, and everywhere we listen, around the media, the guys like to remind me. Our question, because I'm a Packers fan, by the way, and so we had a big sliding doors moment, we believe, when Micah Parsons went down against Denver, and I suppose for the likes of me, it's nice to imagine how different the season could have been if Micah Parsons doesn't go down in a game that the Packers were controlling or seemed to be in control of, and then subsequently lost all control of, which they did again against the Bears twice. But that was a sliding doors moment. The Bo Nix injury was a sliding doors moment, and we talked about how different the season could have been had Bo Nix stayed healthy. We talked just before we came on air as well about another sliding doors moment, that fourth down decision not to kick early on in the game. Sean Payton goes for it, 4th and 1. We talk about analytics. You were telling me that the analytics said that actually that was the wrong call. We've argued about it on the show. I don't think we agree yet. I say that if the analytics was telling you to go for it in that situation, I still kick, because of the way the game felt like it was developing. Points just felt like they were going to be so hard got in that game. And a lot of people like to say you don't win matches, you don't win games with 3 points, you win them with 7. You can win some certain games with 3 points, and that was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, it was interesting. That's why it was interesting for me to see win probability added actually reveal that it was 66% to kick and 64% to go for it, because usually WPA tells you there, go for it in most situations. That's why it was an intriguing number, because I'm with you. Reading the situation, the way the game was flowing, the way the weather forecast was shaping up, it had been announced in the press box prior to the game over the press box PA. At least 1 inch of snowfall expected in the second half. So,
it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a shock.
Everybody knew what was coming. If us chuckleheads in the press box knew that snow was coming, Sean Payton knew that snow was coming and was going to accumulate enough to the point where it was going to cause problems in the game. So that meant the second half of the contest was going to take on a different flavor. You had the defense playing well, and there's another layer to it. New England had not played from 2 scores behind often. In fact, only 3 games in this season had they been behind by 2 scores, and 2 of them represented 2 of their 3 losses. They came from 2 scores back against Baltimore late in the season. The other 2 times they got 2 scores behind, they lost. So you would be putting them in a scenario against your defense, number 2 in the league in total defense, with a quarterback who'd never been on the road in the playoffs before. And that's another thing. Teams with quarterbacks starting their first playoff road game since the AFL-NFL merger were 59 and 119 going into that game. So you have a situation that usually goes against the quarterback with his first road start. A number 2 defense in total defense in your favor. The weather coming in, your own quarterback who probably only has but so many good bullets in him.
Yeah.
And then WPA telling you, okay, you kick here. It's unfathomable. I have to say, Sean Payton goofed in that decision. And now he's upset about his play call, but I still think it was the decision to go for 4th down. That was a mistake.
Did he goof again a week ago when he essentially, you could argue, threw Bo Nix under the bus in revealing what he revealed about his injury history? And very interesting that Bo Nix called his own press conference to write that. What's your take on that? What side are you on in that argument? And how do you see that relationship going forward in terms of repairing it? Is it something that can be, it can be swept under the carpet very quickly, or is it something that might cause a little bit of an underlying friction next season?
I'm not too worried about that. Now, I mean, there's some give and take and back and forth between Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Go back to 2024 when the Broncos are playing the Raiders and they're shouting at each other. Bo Nix shouts back at Sean Payton. And afterward, Sean's saying, there's a little Ferris Bueller and Bo Nix. Sean Payton wants his quarterback to go back at him.
Yeah.
He wants that energy coming back. In 2023, for example, Broncos are in Detroit and Sean Payton's upset about how things devolved in a goal line scenario. And he's yelling at Russell Wilson, and Russ is just basically standing there, blank look on his face. That's not what the coach wants. The coach wants somebody who's got fire, who's got enough confidence, enough, elan in him to come back at him. So that's actually something that really isn't a concern. That, okay, Bo's got some edge to him. And okay, Bo's upset that Sean put too much out there. Bo's going to say what he feels, and he's going to call Sean out if he's not happy with something, but that's part of the relationship that they have, that Bo feels comfortable enough and confident enough to call the coach out when there's something that isn't right, and they'll talk it out and they'll get through and they'll get past this. I don't think there's any concern there. There isn't a there in terms of like, oh, there's something of issue.
Yeah.
They work through things. They talk through things. There is kind of that creative tension there, but
I remember Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
I remember him referencing his relationship with John Harbaugh early on in his career, where John Harbaugh had an open mic policy where he wanted players to go back at him. So it could be a similar situation like that.
And Sean Payton is a Bill Parcells protege, and going way back,
he went back and forth with Sims as well.
Bill Sims. I mean, there's a great thing that was captured on video once of Parcells yelling at Sims, and Parcells being like, "Shut the bleep up! You bleep and play. I'll bleep and coach." And Sims yelling back at him.
Yeah, maybe.
But there was respect between the two, and they won a lot of games together. But Parcells wanted that fire from his QB. Sean Payton wants that fire from Bo Nix.
So moving on to next season, what's the one area that you'd like to see them improve in terms of their roster, in terms of their personnel? What do the Broncos need to take it to the next step? You presume it's something on offense.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. They need to improve inside linebacker on defense.
Okay.
They were counting on Dre Greenlaw, but he had a quad injury last April. He aggravated early in training camp. He didn't get back until mid-season. He had a hamstring injury in December. So when he was out there, he played well, but he never really got that right. They had a good season coming off the bench from Justin Sternad. Alex Singleton gets a lot of tackles, but he's a liability in coverage. Sternad and Singleton are both free agents. Dre Greenlaw's in an interesting spot. They could cut him and not have a huge cap issue. Wouldn't it all shock me if they turned over inside linebacker? There's some free agent options, and it's a great inside linebacker class in the draft. There's some guys, saw some guys down at the Senior Bowl last week. Holy cow. Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, just all over the place. Ball hawk, and other guys as well. But Rodriguez is the guy that just jumped off the film. So in other words, the Broncos have some options down there at pick 30 and into the second round. And in free agency, they could remake the inside linebacker position in the draft and free agency. So on defense, that's an area to watch. Offensively, Garrett Bowles talked about, okay, we need a playmaker or two, is what he said last week. Now, Sean Payton and George Payton, coaching GM, said they're happy with the receiver position. And to kind of show you that they're happy with the receivers and maybe not happy with the coaching, they fired Kerry Colbert, the receivers coach, last week. Now, wouldn't surprise me if they added somebody at the position. What I think they may also try to do is create more plays, more packages to get Marvin Mims Jr. involved. You saw in the playoffs, because of injuries, he got forced into the lineup, but he had that deep catch in the AFC Championship game. He had some big moments against the Bills. they need to get Mims the ball because among their receivers, he is the one that gets the most consistent separation. The problem is he isn't the big body type that Sean Payton usually favors, but he gets separation. He makes plays. Running back is also another position to watch. J.K. Dobbins was terrific while he played, but he got injured and was lost for the season against the Raiders. He would have been back for this game if the Broncos had made it. They love what J.K. brings when he's on the field. They love what he brings in the locker room. But unfortunately, you have to count on him being injured. So it's up in the air whether the Broncos bring him back. If they do, they need to have a viable plan to replace him. If not, if they don't bring J.K. back, they're definitely in the Tyler Algier, Breece Hall conversation in free agency. But if they do bring J.K. back, they need to have a better viable plan to fill in for him, with R.J. Harvey being the second half of that running back duo. So if they bring J.K. back, don't be surprised to see them look either kind of at a second tier free agent or at a day 2 running back, say Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas, so they're ready if and when J.K. gets injured. Because unfortunately, as terrific as J.K. is when he's healthy, you have to count on him being injured. That's just his health. That's just his history.
Andrew Mason, senior writer for denversports.com. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
I know it's been a very busy week for you, and we can see and we can hear things are starting to wind down. They're packing away the studios here.
Yeah.
I hope you get some downtime in the next day or two before the big game.
It has to be downtime in the next day or two because the scouting combine is in 13 days. I'm going to be in Indianapolis. Like, there's no off season. My off season isn't until mini camp ends in June. So basically, I've got an 11-month season and I've got another 4 months to go.
I wish you all the best. Thanks for coming on, Andrew.
My pleasure.